How are you?
Very well.
Welcome to Locks of Laughs. Thank you for
Oh, I'm
being here.
very happy to be here. I think I'm too far. Let me watch this. Look at that. I
What are you
just
too
moved
far?
over.
You're too far
I just moved
from
over to the
me.
center and the camera. I know this is audio, but I'm looking at myself, so
No, you're
I
you're
moved.
all, it's also visual.
Okay. I'm
Yeah, no,
glad I
no,
put
no.
clothes
This
on.
is this is visual. I yeah, are you bottomless?
No, I actually I was pajamaed in full, not like a set like you would see in a movie or something, but I was wearing what I would wear to sleep.
I actually sleep in like those sets in front like that you see in movies. Like I actually do
Nice.
sleep in that. Like I look like I'm in like a Hallmark movie when I go to sleep. I'm also
Yeah.
like shellacked, like arms, chest, everything in lotion so that I don't age poorly.
Nice. Sure.
You're like, okay. Um, what are you noshing on before we dive in?
So what I eat for breakfast? Typically, there are two choices:
Okay.
two poached eggs with toast, or an egg white omelet with Calabrian chili peppers. That's my two
Why are you
choices.
so healthy?
I don't know. That's what I eat every day. Don't. I don't know. I'm getting old. I wasn't that way before.
Yeah, but
And
that's
my
like
favorite.
super healthy.
Yes, but okay. So I do love sausage McMuffin from McDonald's. If I
Okay,
were
now
going
that's
bad.
not healthy.
Oh,
Now that Okay, well that's a good nosh. Good for you. Let me ask you something.
what do you got?
I'm sure everyone says this. Your last name is Romano. Any relation to Ray? Ray Romano?
No, not at
No?
all. And we met once, and I
You
said,
did?
"Hey, we were doing stand up at the same club." I said, "Hey, we have the same last name." He looked at me and was like, "Yeah." He didn't care at all.
Wait a minute. I didn't even know, John, that you did stand up.
Oh yes, I did a lot of things, and stand up was one of those things. And I quit stand up because of Brody Stevens, my old friend who passed away a few years ago.
Oh, I'm so
Great comedian.
sorry.
But we walked from the comic strip to 14th Street in New York City to Union Square. And the whole time he was just doing jokes and goes, "That funny, John Romano? John Romano, you think that's funny?" I was like, "I don't love this the way this guy does." And I just kind of let it go.
Oh, okay. So you didn't it didn't bring you joy, so you stopped.
Well, I
It
was in year 3 of 6 that Jeff Ross told me back then. He said, "You have to do it 6 years before you can even determine if you're good." And I was on year 3, and I don't know, I started to want to do other things. I wanted to go back to doing music and art and acting and stand up. So much of the stand up in the 90s, it, you know, I, when I was happy with life, it was hard to do stand up. And I wasn't at the point where I was like married where I could do a Jerry Seinfeld thing where you do, "Oh, my wife says this," that
yeah,
kind of
right.
stuff. So it's either single misery comic or my wife drives me crazy comic. And I was
Right.
somewhere in the middle and I just let it go.
No, yeah, no, it's hard. I find I'm choking. Hold on.
Don't choke.
Sorry. It's interesting. I do stand up comedy now, and I've been doing it for about 2 years. And you do find there, a lot of people haven't found their shtick,
Hmm.
yet. So they just talk about anything, which is great. But then I understand where you're coming from. Like if you're there are a lot of very depressed comedians, and a lot of the time when that's your main focus on stage, that can be very draining for the comedian, right?
And the audience.
And the audience. Yeah, the audience is like, come on, we want to laugh, like we don't want to hear about this, like talk about anything other than an ambulance. I get
I,
that.
I followed Chris Rock once. It was Chris Rock, then me once. That was interesting.
Wait, how did that I'm so wait I'm how did that happen? Like
I,
how Chris Rock,
at
like the
sta-
mecca that is Chris Rock?
well, at Stand Up New York, um, he was preparing to do the MTV Music Awards or something. He popped into the stand up to the club,
To work on
and
some
no one would
jokes.
follow him. None of the professional quote unquote comedians would follow him. I said, I'll go. I just jumped up. I had the audience in the palm of my hands for about 90 seconds. And then they're like, "Wait a second, this guy's not that funny." I was only like 16 months into doing it. But I talked to him after. He said, "I used to have to follow Sam Kinison." He goes, "You're probably going to do well." You know, because I had to follow Kinison. Can you imagine following Sam Kinison? So,
I mean, Chris Rock is insane. I can't even believe that you met him. He is so
yeah.
talented.
Yeah,
I
he
think
was a
I
nice
met him
guy.
once on a plane when I was a child, and I asked him for his autograph.
And
And he gave it to me. I just don't know where it is now.
where is
I
it?
mean,
Ah,
it's gone. It's gone. He like, I think we were coming back from Orlando, like Disney or something, and I asked him to sign like or I think I actually asked him to sign like an Us Weekly I was reading, or not reading, but like had like my mom or my dad or someone had it. I don't even know, but I know he signed something that was
Did you
like not
did
real.
you have an appropriate writing instrument to sign a magazine, like a Sharpie or something?
No, no, it's not as if we knew he would be there. Like I just, and also I shouldn't, realistically, like I should not have gone up to him. Like that was very rude, but I was like 7.
Okay, he was in business class. I take it. Yes.
He was in business class. I didn't go up to him on the plane, but I went up to him at baggage claim.
Oh, nice. Even better when someone
Yeah,
has
even
more
better.
patience.
Yeah, he was, he was dumbfounded. So you just got back from France, right?
Yes.
What were you
Yes, I
doing
did.
there? Tell us about it.
I own a French travel company called linkparis.com. We do day trips in Paris and Paris tours since 2002.
Wow.
Yeah, so I go over for a convention once. I travel to France 2 or 3 times a year, but I was there for a big convention.
So you're a business owner, you're an actor. You used to do stand-up comedy. How
Yes,
do
and I was a
you
songwriter too.
Okay, what? What
Yeah,
kind of
I-
songs?
I used to. I wrote what can be considered co-wrote what can be considered the last hit of a genre of music called Latin freestyle. Now, if you're my age, which is 50, and you're from New York, you're like, oh wow, I know that. But I co-wrote a song called "Take Me Your Arms" by Little Susie. That's the name of the artist.
I
Did
feel
good.
like I know who Little Susie is. I feel
It
like I've
became
heard
a
her.
TikTok meme last July. My daughter contacted me and said, "Dad, you're a TikTok meme." It was a thing. You're not a dancing alligator, and they used that song, and
Any
specifically a lyric I
relation,
wrote.
like any relation to the Everly Brothers song "Wake Up"? Like "Wake Up, Little Susie."
No, this is
No.
this is a dance song that was #1 in New York City in 1992.
Wait, that's really cool. I had no idea.
Can I share with you how we got the song on the radio back then, because it's kind of interesting?
Absolutely not. No, please. Yes, tell us.
But I happened to work at Hot 97. I answered the phones. So I was like, Hot 97, what do you want to hear? Hot 97, what do you want to hear?
Oh, okay.
That had nothing to do with getting the song on the air. I just happened to work there at the time.
Okay.
How that song became a hit was the record company bought commercials that played the song just long enough to trigger a hit in SoundScan. And they would buy 8 or 9 of these commercials, so it would show up as 9 plays on Hot 97. And then it would make Billboard magazine. And the program directors around the country would say, oh, Take Me Your Arms, Little Susie's ranked number 36 at Hot 97 in New York, and they would start playing it. But it was a great song, and it became #1 at the station. I don't remember the date, September 9th, 1992, but I can't remember. We were #1, and End of the Road by Boyz II Men was #2. I thought that was kind of cool.
That is wild. That is so cool. So cool. So, okay, so let's go through this again. Okay, so you're a business owner,
Yes.
a travel agency, we can call it. You're an actor. You used to do stand-up comedy, and you used to be a songwriter. How did you get out? Like, why did you stop when you had a #1 hit?
Well, so it was #1 in dance, and it was top 50 in the Billboard Hot 100 around there. Music started to change, and I lived in New York City. I was 23 years old, and I just wanted to drink the world in a cup. So I started to do acting the first time after music, and then I started painting and selling paintings on the street. Then I went to stand-up comedy.
Okay,
Then back
so
to music, and then I settled and artistically on acting. I have an old friend. His name is Matt Pless. He used to say, "Dude, can you just make up your mind and pick one thing?" And he was
Yeah.
absolutely right. But
You've done
got to
so
acting
much.
a little late, but I love it now. Acting is my happiness. Acting and and making records are the two things I love doing the most because I love the technology. I
Yeah,
love
you're
being on set. I love being around the cameras, the crew, everything.
Yeah, I know. I've read for you for one of your auditions. I
Yes,
think you read for me too right after, right?
yes.
Didn't you?
A few days later. Yes.
Yeah. So how did how did your love of acting come about? Because you clearly have many, many talents. So how did you stick with acting on top of everything else?
Well, it's funny. Some point in the '90s in New York, there was a Woody Harrelson and Kiefer Sutherland were doing a movie in New York, and a buddy of mine were just walking around New York, a kid I grew up with, and I saw them from afar on their set just having a conversation, and just something hit me. It's like, you could do that, and I had never thought about acting before, and it always stayed with me. I did it the first time in New York. I really should have stuck with it in New York, but the problem was, in New York City, it is so there's like a class system of acting. You're like you have to go from small plays to off Broadway to off Broadway to Broadway. Then you can think about film and TV.
Right, right.
But in LA, you just show up and like, hey, dude, we need someone to say two lines. These pretzels are making me thirsty. Basically, that
Yeah.
like that kind of thing. LA
Wait,
is
so is
really
that how
made
you
for
got
that.
your first your first gig in LA? Like you just showed up somewhere and they were like, "We need you
No,
to say something," or
no, actually, so there's one. So I went back to music after stand-up comedy, and I started a band at the age of 30, which is such a smart idea to start a band at 30. That's sarcasm.
oh,
We,
that's sarcasm.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So
I
I
couldn't
did
catch
that for
on.
about 8 years, and the band broke up. We did a tour of Scotland, and this was one of the most important moments of my life. Actually, I wound up calling my dad from under Edinburgh Castle, and I was like crying. I was crying. I'm 38 years old, and I said to him, and it was such a big thing for me to say. I said, "Pop, why am I trying so hard for something that clearly doesn't want me?" And it was such a freeing
I
moment.
mean,
It
that's
was,
every person that's in a failing relationship. They
yeah,
always.
yes. And I was in a failing relationship. Ironically, we then drove to London the next day, got in a big argument with the guitar player. It's always the guitar player, right?
Always the guitar
Yeah.
player.
But then we played in London, had this amazing gig. It was like one of the best gigs we ever did. And then I jumped on a plane. They stayed a few days. I jumped on a plane because I had work back in America. And that was it. I played music live one time after that, and that was it. I was at a dinner party for work in Corsica, in France, and there was a band playing. I said to the people I was with, I said, "Do you mind? Can you ask them if I can grab a guitar and sing?" They're like, "Ha ha ha! What are you talking about?" And I went up there and sang in front of this restaurant full of people, and that's the last gig I ever did or will ever do.
So you're just not into it anymore.
No, I don't do hobbies. So I kinda, it's not really in my. I just do everything all the way or not at all. That's. I mean, my wife
Okay.
and I moved in together after 3 dates and been together over 20 years. It's just kind
Wow,
of how
you
I do
have me and
things.
my husband beat. We moved in together after 7 months, so a
Wow.
couple more
Okay.
dates than three. But like,
Yeah. But
wow, how did you meet your wife?
we were sitting next to each other at Tom Bergen's in Los Angeles. A
What is
wonderful.
Tom Burt? I don't even know if
Tom
I.
Bergen's is the oldest continuing bar in the city of Los Angeles.
Where is it?
Fairfax and Olympic, the Irish place. It's a very famous
Wait, I
place
think I've been there.
with all the shamrocks on the wall and stuff.
I think I've been there. I think I actually saw a band play there.
No, that's Molly Malone's up the block.
That's right. You're right. That's Molly Malone's. That's Molly Malone's. Oh, then I don't know.
It's a few blocks further down.
I haven't
It's a
lived in
thing.
that
It's a great
area in
place,
a long
but
time.
yeah, it was a great place, and we just sat next to each other on a Saturday, and became friends. And a few months later, we went on a date, and it was interesting. We were sitting next to. We went on our date, and I actually said to her, I said, I don't think this isn't really going to work for us. So, you want to just go get a slice of pizza? So we went and got pizza, and at Damiano's, which doesn't exist anymore. But we were in
Okay.
a booth, and instead of sitting across from me, she sat next to me. I don't know. I just looked over
That's
and I
what
said,
did it
"Oh,
for you? I used
I
to
don't."
know someone that refused to sit across from her dates. She would only sit next to them, and if they were weirded out by that, she'd be like, "I'm done. I'm out."
Yeah, it was an interesting move on her part. I don't know what made her do it or whatever, but I just looked over and said, "All right, I guess we'll just spend the rest of our life together." And that's so far.
Oh my God,
Knock on
that's
wood.
so cute.
Knock on wood.
Does your
You
wife
never know
act
in this day and
also?
age. No, not at
No.
all.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
How dare I ask that question?
Yeah, I know. I'm giving her answer. No. That's her
Definitely
answer.
not.
But she supports it. She supports it almost more than I do, so which is pretty cool.
What is the last audition you had? You were
I
really
had-
close for that one that I read with you for, but I forget what it was.
something
It was like
HBO
a biopic.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. It was some. It was. I think it was a. The guy, Hitchcock.
Yeah,
Hitchcock.
yeah.
The guy.
Yeah.
I sound so smart. The guy.
guy,
you know
the
that
guy,
guy.
the guy, the
You know that
birds,
guy that used to
right.
make the movies. He was the
Yeah,
guy. You
that
know, he was
guy.
good. That and yesterday I had an audition for independent film.
Oh,
So,
that's great.
it was only 2 lines the audition because it's a small role, but those are harder sometimes than
They're so
other
hard.
Stuff.
No, they're so hard. The co-star or not co-star, like the under 5 lines on TV shows specifically, those are so difficult, those auditions. Or
Yeah.
like, hey, can I get you anything else with that? I remember like no, but really, like those are so difficult because you want to give so much, right? Like you want to show up, you want to have like an 8-hour backstory for your one line.
Yeah.
Would you like some milk with your coffee? And like so you go in there and or you do the self tape and you're like, would you like some milk with your, like you're gonna do so much, and it's just so hard to do absolutely nothing and just like throw it away. I completely get that. It's
Frightened
a lot.
inmate number 3.
Yeah, right. Like it's a lot. Not, I don't want to say easier, but you have more of a like an understanding of a role when you have a scene to read as opposed to 2 lines.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
yeah.
that is it's so tough. So, do you prefer auditioning for movies or TV more? Because you
No,
audition
no.
quite a bit.
Well, yeah, sometimes. Sometimes I don't.
Yeah, I guess
Sometimes
I guess
wish
it
I'm-
depends. We're going
Yeah.
into the summer, so it's probably going to be slow until the very end.
Yeah. I like both. I don't get that many film auditions, mostly TV because almost everything is TV. I'm on
Yeah.
well, this will have aired already, but I have a role on 1923 on Paramount.
Hey, mazel
that-
mazel.
Thank you.
What kind of
the
role
final
is it?
episode. I sell train tickets to Jerome Flynn.
That's so cool.
And then
Wait, why
I-
didn't you lead with that?
I don't know. And then I insult him a little, and he's like, "I love to be judged by half a man as me as ye." And then I just kind of, he's a
ye.
really nice guy, by the way. And I met Harrison Ford, and here's our entire. Okay, I'm gonna do 2 things. When I was a kid, I met John Gotti,
What?
and this year I met Harrison Ford. I'm gonna do an impression of both, and you tell me which is which.
Okay.
Okay. And this
Okay.
is the extent of our entire conversations together.
Okay.
First one, and don't guess until after because it might be tough. First
All
one,
right.
how you doing, kid? Okay. Now the second one, what's your name? Which is which?
Okay, so I want to say the "How you doing, kid" is John Gotti.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, of course it is. And
Okay,
then,
yeah, I know.
obviously,
I thought
don't-
you were like screwing with me. I was.
I
Like,
thought I was. Well, that's me. I thought I had a great Harrison Ford impression, but what's your name? Is that better?
No, that's good.
My name is Ford, but I drive a Jeep. How's that? Give me back my son. Wait, is that him? No, that's Mel Gibson,
That's-
isn't it? That's
Wait,
Mel Gibson who yells that.
when does Mel Gibson yell that? Oh, in Signs.
They're-
Oh no.
They're,
in
no,
The
they're
Patriot.
competing. Ransom
I don't.
and the other. I don't know. There was a host of movies where people's children were kidnapped that they all did in the 90s and 2000s until Liam Neeson grabbed all those roles.
Oh
now,
my God,
Any movie
yeah.
that has it is Liam Neeson. So they all did one until Liam Neeson did one, and now he does them all.
Yeah, Liam Neeson does all of the Taken movies. Which, by the way, I love Liam Neeson and I love the Taken movies.
I know.
I
know.
love
I
them.
like them too. I'm a mom with a particular set of skills. It's like this. I just want to extort you
a-
for $300,000. Can I just have it? I'm going to kill you. You know,
are these accents or impressions, and are they
I have
listed on
no
your
idea.
resume?
I don't know. You know,
We
I
have the
can only.
same
Here's the problem.
management, right?
Yes, as far as I know, the team
The team, the team.
at Talent One.
Do
I can
you
only do impressions of what I want to say. So if I ever get a script with having to do an accent, I have a lot of trouble. I can do an impression of what I want to say. But if someone tells me, you're going to go over the man, but if they changed, I don't even know what that sounds like.
Yeah, wait,
But
I don't even know what you're trying to tell me.
what I'm saying is, no, hold up. What I'm saying is, I can do impressions when I just, whatever I think to say. But if there's a
Okay.
script with an accent, I'm not great at it. There you go.
Really? How interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so then it probably wouldn't be listed on your resume.
No.
No, okay.
I mean, you know,
Do
I
you
could do
want-
Southern consistently.
You know what's really interesting to me is that British and Australian people do the Southern accent so incredibly well. Like, do a form of there are many different, twangs, but they do them so well.
Yeah. They do American accents so well.
So
That's it.
well.
It's unbelievable. I think it's
Yep.
music, don't you think? I mean, because Mick
What do you
Jagger
mean?
doesn't sing with a British accent. It almost sounds like an American accent, you know?
Maybe.
I'll
Oh, that's a
never
really-
be a beast of burden. You know what I mean? It doesn't sound like,
Are you sure you
British.
don't want to get another singing gig out there?
no, I would sing, but I'm not going to play clubs anymore. The situation where, like, we played, the Viper Room sold out. It's like 400 people. Everybody's dancing to my music. And
Wait,
then you're
so-
done. Then you're done. They say, okay, get out. And then there's a door at the side of the stage that opens on Sunset Boulevard. So you're like, thank you, good night. And then you're outside and Sunset Boulevard is freezing. It's funny, man.
Wait, so do you still talk to any of these band members?
Two of them, not the guitar player. 'Cause
Right, well, of course
Yeah. Okay. But the drummer and the bass player, yeah. The bass player went on. He plays in really high-end cover bands now, like tribute bands.
Oh.
And the drummer is still kicking around. He's a great guy. He's a really nice guy.
Very cool. Okay.
Clark Becker.
Ooh, plug Clark Becker. That sounds like a 1990s heartthrob name. You know what I mean? Like, and ladies and gentlemen, Clark Becker on the cover
Absolutely.
of Teen Beat says, "Don't do drugs; they're bad." So your daughter, how old? It's your daughter's birthday today, right?
Yes.
Oh my goodness! Happy
Yeah.
birthday! How old is she?
Since we're doing this, as of today, she can gamble, buy a gun, get a pilot's license. So, 21.
You know what's so crazy is that when you said she can gamble, I was like, wait, I know she's older than 18. I forgot for a second that you actually can't gamble until you're 21.
Yes, I believe. Yes,
I love gambling. Do you like to gamble?
sometimes.
I
I'm,
love.
you know, I'm a fella from New Jersey and whose parents and grandparents are from Hoboken, so it's kind of within our family lineage there.
When you told your parents that you wanted to act, what was their response?
Oh, I don't know. My dad loves it. He was actually, he's 91. He's about 10 feet away from me in the other room. He lives with us, and he was mad when I stopped acting the first time in my 20s. He really was. He
Wait,
really
so you
said,
started
"You're making a mistake,
acting-
son."
You started acting and then you stopped and then you started again.
Yeah. So I went music, acting, painting, stand-up comedy, back to music, back to acting for good.
Why did you stop acting the first time?
Well, we were in New York. It was so difficult to get anywhere. I was I acted a lot. I was pretty good back then. It was interesting.
You're
But
not good
really,
anymore now?
Well, back then I could almost cry. I don't know. I have to take care of my family. I have to take care of the business. And
yeah.
it's like, do I have time to do this crying stuff? So now acting
Priorities are
more is
different,
about
yeah.
but acting more is now about helping, just enjoyment, as opposed to back then it was like serious art. But in New York, it was very frustrating doing plays and small off-Broadway plays, and then trying to get up from there. And you were treated like, I did extra work when I was in New York when I was young, just for money. And
okay.
you were just treated so in New York was so hard. If I had made it to LA back then, I would have stuck with it immediately. Absolutely, because LA is the place for acting still.
I mean, I feel like now with self-tapes, you can pretty much be anywhere if you're able to be a like local hire. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
You can pretty like
What
if
do you
you're
think
able
about that? Like, if you got a good role in Texas and they said, "But we want you local hire," which for the listening audience means you basically have to pay your
Pay
way to
for
get
your-
there
yeah.
and pay for your hotel, I believe. As
Yeah,
a local
yeah,
hire.
that's what a local hire is. That means there's
But-
no per diem, there's no travel, lodging. So I guess it depends on the role, right?
Well, it also depends, though. If you're a local hire in Austin and they shoot 45 minutes out of Austin, they are going to pay for your hotel, or an hour out of Austin or something. But if you were doing an in-studio gig in Austin,
Right.
you would have to pay for your own hotel, yeah.
Right. So I think it depends on the role because for a series regular for a show that's filmed in Austin, they are not looking at local hires because they're hoping the show goes on for a while. So they think, okay, well, they're looking for local hires for maybe supporting and day players and guest stars and co-star roles, you know? So for a great like co-star or honestly even like a good under 5, yeah, I would totally pay for it myself to like on
No, I get it. It's a real-
1923. Where is that filmed?
Montana.
Montana. Were you a local hire or no?
No way. Paramount Pictures comes to my house, takes me to the airport.
Love it.
They were amazing.
If they were only hiring local hires for that, I would for like lines and with
Yeah, I
the
know.
series regular with Harrison Ford, or, like I would.
It's tough, but should we have to do that? You know?
It's not about should we have to. It's are you able to? There are a lot of people that aren't able to do that, right?
Yeah.
They're
No,
just
that is an
not.
advantage.
So I know, like I list myself as a local hire for obviously LA, like that's not, you know, but New York, Atlanta, I'll pretty much, for the right role, I will be a local hire. It just depends on the role. For
Yeah.
like an indie film that shoots in Dallas or like Charleston and you're there for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something, but you're the lead of like an indie film, for sure. But I wouldn't do it for like a non-union like short film. Do you know what I mean? Like that's just ridiculous. I also think for someone like me who has family in New York, listing myself as a local hire in New York is easy. I just hop on a plane and I can stay at my dad's, you know?
Yeah, and I could do the same in New York. As
So
far-
so there are a lot of people that can't, and they do, as you said, have to get their own hotel, and that's really rough.
All right, let me ask you a question. What show would you do for free if you time machine, you call back and you know what the show was? What would you do? I would do Arrested Development for zero. I would pay to have done one of the first 4 seasons of Arrested Development.
I don't know. That's a really good question. Like for free, as in like,
Just meaning there's no money involved. You would just be so happy to do it, you don't even care.
but it's a real role.
Yeah, it's a real show. I mean, it's just kind of a fancy, like, okay, let me phrase it a different way. What show, if you could dream show, any show you could be a part of in the past, what would you wanted to be on?
Probably The Office.
Okay, the
I-
UK or US?
U.S.
Okay, awesome.
Shout out UK though. Love
Yeah.
Ricky Gervais, but probably The Office. I am for like the umpteenth time. I am rewatching One Tree Hill. So maybe when I was a teenager, when it was on, maybe that would have been my answer then.
Okay.
But honestly, I think The Office trumps One Tree Hill, even though they're both like epic, amazing TV shows.
How about Party Down season 1 or 2?
Great show. Oh, I love Adam Scott.
Yeah, nice guy. I met him once.
I
Nice
met him
smile in
too.
person.
He's so
Doesn't he have a nice
kind.
smile in person? Yeah.
He's so nice.
How can anyone
Very
be that nice?
personable. You want to be that nice?
No, I said, how can anyone be that nice?
I don't know. I hate people, but I love Adam Scott. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that one's really that's an easy yes because it filmed in LA. it's local, like, and if they were like, hey, we can't pay you, but you have like a kissing scene, you get to make out with Adam Scott and you say a couple lines, like, I'd be like, sign me up. What are you, nuts?
That show was great. I love that show. And Ken Marino, too. Really, really smart.
So that I want to ask you the same question, but
What do you
I want to know, what would be your show? Did you already tell me and I forgot?
Yeah, Arrested Development
Oh, Arrested
and Party
Development,
Down.
okay.
Just anything that became amazing art. I would say the original Office, but it doesn't make sense. There's no way,
Yeah,
it
like,
was
why
just-
would they need like an yeah?
They don't need me in Slough. It's interesting. Slough is about 35 minutes away from London, and the U.S. office went to Scranton.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, which is much further geographically, I guess, because of the size of the countries. But
For,
it's kind of
further, you
interesting.
mean from New York?
Yeah,
Like from the Mecca,
Yes.
the big city, right? Yeah.
yeah.
It's Scranton. It's not on the Philly side, is it?
No, it's out
No,
once you start
yeah.
driving towards Pittsburgh. It's out there. It's not that far. I think it's like 100 miles from New York.
Okay.
Ish,
It's a couple
Scranton.
hours. It's not,
Yeah.
yeah, because I know they've made that drive on the show multiple times. But
Oh, so they go to New York in the show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Corporate.
They
they've
never
gone to-
mention they never go to London in the original Office. Those 13
Okay.
episodes. It's not. It's like it's not even doesn't even exist. To the point where I actually went and looked up where Slough was.
Oh,
and
just
Swindon.
yeah.
Yeah, to see, and it's not far at all from London. It's interesting.
Yeah, no, they actually quite a few episodes take place in Manhattan. Michael
Yeah.
goes a few times. A lot, yeah. I mean, Jan goes back and forth a lot of the time. I never
cool.
really
Well, that
understood
show
what
became a
Jan ended
phenomenon.
up. Yeah, I mean, 9 seasons. I know they wanted to, or I don't even know if it's still happening, but there was going to be a female-led office at some
Okay.
point. I don't know if that's still in the works. I haven't heard anything since there was a not so formal announcement. But do you think that that's a show that they could bring back and have it actually be like a real hit? Maybe not like
Well-
the first one because it's over 20 years since that.
And there was a
became-
lot of knockoffs, right?
Well, yeah,
Of that
Parks and
kind of
Rec, which
style.
is an amazing show.
Yeah, and that's actually because of Parks and Rec. Adam Scott was taken from Party Down and went to
Right,
NBC
I
and do
think-
Parks and Rec.
right, I think
and that
that's
because
right,
Party Down would have kept going, but it's on
HBO,
Stars.
wasn't it? Oh,
No,
Stars.
Stars.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
Which
yeah.
so even now, it's kind of I think it's kind of difficult to watch the first 2 seasons of Party Down. It's just been so many though of the Office thing. Ricky Gervais started a revolution in.
Yeah. He's really
Yeah.
funny. I actually,
Oh, yeah.
I really, I like his form of comedy, and
Yeah,
I
I
think
wish he would do
he's-
another TV. I didn't like the show about the dog that much.
what show? I don't know
I don't know.
what show that is.
He had extras after he had The Office, then
Yeah,
extras,
I remember
and then there's
Extras. That was a good show. That
Yeah,
was a
you
good
having
show.
a laugh. The later
having a
one is he has a show on HBO, I think it is, where his dog passes away and he just has his whole life about mourning
and
his dog.
I don't know that. Is that the same one where he? No, where his.
And then there was
I know
another
there's a
one
show
called
where-
Derek in the middle.
I don't know that one either. I know he had a show about. I think his wife passed away.
Oh, is-
He's had a lot of like dramatic.
is it-
shows.
yeah, maybe it's I don't know. Maybe they're
Maybe
I'm
there's a
confl-
dog in there too.
No, the dog is in the show, but maybe it is about his wife, and then he
Okay.
finds refuge in the dog. I don't know,
Actually-
but so much more serious. This
Did
guy's
you
a comedic genius, and he's doing
Genius.
like drama. I don't
No,
know.
but sometimes that's really great. I mean, Jim Carrey doing drama is amazing. Like, I think
Yeah.
sometimes, because I was actually just, comedians, like we said before, a lot of them happen to, have dark feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, I feel like they can communicate or, express those feelings through drama and through work.
It's a coping mechanism. It's funny. I had a conversation today with,
Mm-hmm.
in my family, there's 20 grandchildren total. The first was born on April 3rd, and the last was born on April 3rd. Isn't that weird?
Wild.
But we were having a talk, and we were just talking about fights when we were kids, and it was always smaller guys could always fight because they were always getting in fights, and then you learn that
Mm-hmm.
getting punched in the face doesn't hurt that much. Maybe later it hurts, but at the time it doesn't. and they grab courage. And I think comedians that are genuinely funny take the pain of growing up and make
yeah.
funny out of it, and then they turn it into an amazing career. So yeah, a lot of comedians. We talked about Brody Stevens briefly. Did you know of Brody?
I don't think so.
Brody was the comedian's comedian,
I'm
and
looking Brody up now.
he was Zach Galifianakis' best friend for a long time, and
Oh.
Zach and I started doing comedy at the same time. He was a really nice guy too, but Brody was part of that scene back in New York in the mid '90s, and 6 or 7 years ago, Brody he committed suicide. It was very
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
yeah,
That is
it was
heartbreaking.
yeah. I felt bad about that.
Oh my goodness. I just looked up Brody Stevens. He had a show on Comedy Central called Brody Stevens Enjoy It.
Yes,
Is that right?
yeah, that's Brody.
Wow.
But he was the comedian's comedian, because I couldn't tell you a Brody Stevens joke, but I've watched him do 40 minutes and just been mesmerized by it. And after, I couldn't tell you one bit he did. It's kind of very
Because it's a
interesting
story,
guy.
right? You know,
Not
they-
even. He
Oh,
would
okay.
he'll talk for one. He would go from subject to subject to subject. He was a lot like Robin Williams, actually. That same kind of energy that Robin Williams used to have. And actually, they both wound up committing suicide, which is interesting.
What do you think that is with comedians? You know, what do you think? Why is it that so many people that want to make others laugh and that strive to make others laugh are hurting inside? What do you think that is?
Well, when I said it's about, this is a defense mechanism or a coping mechanism to survive when they're younger. There's something inside that this is how they survived, by being funny. I'm certain of it.
Yeah.
You know? Every funny guy I know, there's a story.
Yeah.
Parent, a situation, something personal, you know?
That's why.
And then you have like Jerry Seinfeld, who breaks all the rules, who has no problems, kind of. He's just Jerry Seinfeld.
He's just Jerry Seinfeld, but he's also a genius.
Oh, I think Jerry Seinfeld's great. And I played in a celebrity, I'm not the celebrity, but I played in a celebrity poker tournament a week ago. I just want to make it sound. I attended a celebrity poker tournament.
Oh, okay.
So there was 400 people there, and it was Rob Riggle and Jason Alexander were the two celebrities.
okay.
But it's for a great charity called We Spark, and it raises money for when kids, if their parents pass away, the charity helps them, gives them a lot of coping mechanisms and
that's
stuff. And
lovely.
they have a place where they can go in LA to be with other kids who lost their parents. It's pretty, but Jason Alexander is the host of that, and it's interesting to play poker with him. You know, I played a few times, and he's just so different. But one time I said to him, I said, he lost a hand, and I said, Jason, a full house beats a straight. And he goes, I'm aware. He went to George just for fun, and I thought, nice.
I'm aware.
was great.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I wanna go back and talk about your daughter a little bit.
Sure.
If she came to you and she said, "Hey, I want to get into acting," what would your response be?
Oh, absolutely.
So you want her to, because I know your
Oh, she would-
daughter is
I
a
think she'd be-
hairdresser.
Yeah, I think she'd be great at it, but she loves doing hair, and she's doing really well with it. So
I've
I support her
heard.
100%.
I've heard she's doing really well. That makes me really
Yes.
happy.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And, you know, because she had to start at a couple places until she found the right place, and she really likes the place she's at now. But if she wanted to be an actress, absolutely. Just like my dad didn't want me to stop the first time, I would encourage her 100%. Now,
think
become a
that's
musician, she came in to be a musician, I might, no, actually, I would support her.
What
as
if she
well.
wanted to date a musician?
That's fine. Just, you know, just don't pay for everything. Just don't pay for everything. And if she wanted to date an actor, it would be the same. It's like, just, you know, they are the way they are. Because I'm one of them. So she'll
No, I
just
get
practice,
it.
you know.
Has it
Yeah.
has a role been weird for your daughter or your wife to see you play? Like, have they turned on a show and you're like, actually, maybe you should skip this episode because
No, I only done co-star roles so far. I've done 5 juicy co-star roles for HBO, ABC, NBC, Paramount, and Fox.
don't
so they're
say
all smaller
only
roles.
because that's big.
No,
No,
I
don't
know, I
say
know.
that
I'm
because
very-
that's, you know how many people would kill for what you just said?
Yeah, no,
That's
I'm very.
incredible. And
I
you've
love
worked
it,
with
and I'm
so
very
many
proud.
big
Yeah,
names.
I'm very proud of it, but it's just, it's also, you don't want to, you know how it is with act. You don't want to be like, hey, I've been in so much. I can't, I've met Clint Eastwood once, but I can't call him Clint. You know what I mean? I'm not, it just, I love what I've gotten, and I
Yeah.
want to work more, and I really want to do bigger roles, but that's how it is. Everybody's always, I have a friend that makes over $1 million a year from Hollywood. And he still kind of just wants to push to the next thing. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
smell those roses a little. You know, it's great.
Do you like the
Thank you.
audition process?
I love the audition process. What I would, if anyone was getting, okay, advice to anyone that was getting into acting that was hearing this: one, don't ever do extra work. Just don't do it. Just let it go. And two, from day one, realize that the audition process and the acting process are completely separate skills.
100%. There is a business and a system to auditioning.
Yes, and never be nervous once you get the role, because unless you make a pass at the producer's husband or wife, or start cursing or start breaking out some, screaming or racist rant, you're not getting fired, because it's a lot of work for them to replace you. So as long as you're not difficult, a director told me once, you can be an a-hole and great. You can be mediocre and really nice, but you can't be an a-hole and mediocre. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah,
Thought
no,
was
that
good
is
advice.
really good. I don't
Yeah.
get it. No, I'm kidding. No, that is really good. It's interesting because I feel like auditioning now, like we were talking about with self-taping, it's so different than it was even just like 10 years ago, you know? I mean, there was such a, like, pun intended, there was such a drive to get to the audition. You know,
Yes.
like you wanted to get there super early, you wanted to sit and prepare, you wanted to make sure that you were ready, you were off book. Also, side note, just be off book. I once had a coach tell the class I was in, if you're not prepared for the audition, do not go. It's better to cancel.
Really?
That he has seen and had horror
Wow.
stories of people not being prepared. It's one thing, like, look, if you're not off book, but you know your lines and you're holding your script, that's fine, of course. But if you're not prepared, like, you know what prepared means. I mean, if you're like winging it, don't go. Because a bad
Wow.
audition can set you back more than canceling an audition.
Interesting. Gosh. Wow, that's interesting. I would, yeah.
And
that's
that's
interesting.
not to say that if you like mess up in the room, that's a bad audition. I messed up in the room. I auditioned for Destined to Ride, got the part of a cheerleader, Tammy Tilson. And they sent us a cheer to memorize, to
Okay,
do by
Tammy.
yourself in the, I don't remember it now, but it was a dance and it was
Okay.
a cheer to do by yourself in the audition room in front of the casting director, the director, and like a few like producers or something that were in the room at the time, and like the casting director's assistant. I remember like speaking to an assistant, but I messed up the cheer twice, but I took it back. I was like, I'm gonna do that one more time. I didn't do the entire cheer back, but I composed myself and did it. Messed it up again, but went through it and I still got the part. So I'm not
Yeah.
saying if you mess up, that's a bad audition. I'm saying if you're not prepared and you show up to an audition and you don't think that you can get these words out, or if you
Okay.
think you're going to be like, oh, you know what, can I start over? Can I start over? Can I start over? If you have to ask to start over, you better start over and never have to do it again. That's what this coach was saying. And I do agree because there's
can
also a
see
level
that.
of like professionalism or taking something seriously. You
But
know?
there's also the idea that how many times have you done an audition? You said, "Oh, I'm getting this," and you don't ever hear, it. And then you're like, "Wow, I did horrible," and you get the role. Like so,
Yeah, but there's,
you know,
I've never
But-
actually done an audition where I've thought, oh, I'm getting this, and I didn't get it because I don't normally get the role. So I've never gone into an audition where I'm like, oh, I'm going to get this. I've been like, please, for the love of God, let me get this. But like, I have, like that specific audition. for Destined to Ride. I did not think I was going to get it because I messed up twice. So again, I'm not talking about the mess up. I'm talking about
But just
preparation.
yeah, well, yeah, fair enough. If you're not good, I'll put it this way: if you're not prepared at this level, you shouldn't even be doing this,
Right.
right?
If you're
Yeah,
getting that type of an audition,
and you're not prepared, just
then
maybe
you
you want
shouldn't.
to do something else.
That's true. There is, it's kind of like what you were saying, that tier in New York. There's, and I don't know if that's still there now, you know, it's a different age, but like in LA or in general, I don't know if it's like a tier system, but I do think like those stories of being discovered in an elevator and then booking your very first audition, like that's lovely and wonderful. But I haven't met that person in real life. I know it exists or it used to exist, but I haven't like
The
it's like what
Fonz,
I
Henry Winkler.
oh my god, I love Henry Winkler. But again, a
He,
different time.
but the Happy Days was his first audition in L.A. But he was an established actor in New York to a degree. He came to L.A. and his first audition.
But that's not the same thing.
Yeah,
That's not
fair
that's
enough.
not what I'm
Fair
saying.
enough. Well, it's interesting. I have a friend who, you always hear the idea of someone being upgraded from an extra into getting a speaking role, right?
Yeah, I've
But
heard
I
of it.
have
I've
a
never
friend who
witnessed
had,
it.
I have a friend who it happened to, and
Tell us.
he they told him like he thought he was getting a principal role, but when he showed up, they said, "Okay, you're actually an extra. Sorry, sir," and they put him with the extras.
Oh,
Then they came, then they came in and said, "Yeah, we need someone to do this role. Yeah, you come with us. Yeah, this guy. We're gonna choose this. Yeah, this guy. Come on." They did that to get around SAG rules. That they upgraded him in the process, but they said, "Look,
Okay.
we chose you the whole time for this role." It was a David Lynch thing, and he was over the moon. But all the other extras in the room thought he got picked just out of chance. But they said the whole time we were picking you. That's
See,
interesting.
that to me is wonderful, but like crushing, because what if that guy was like, "Oh no, I'm not here to do extra work. You told me I booked one thing. I'm leaving." Like, what if he left?
Yeah, they might have said something. Who knows? I mean, but
Maybe.
they had planned on him the whole time. They were just trying to get around SAG rules. So
Ah, damn. What
Good
year
old
was
SAG.
that? Could they get away with that now?
yeah, this was 10 years ago. Yeah,
Industry has changed.
yeah, it's changed a lot.
I feel like auditioning 10 years ago was
I used to love getting an audition on like the Warner Brothers lot or Paramount. I would go to lunch. I'd be like, I got the pass. I'm going for coffee. I'm
yeah.
walking around.
Oh, you know what? I don't
I
think
did every time.
I used to get coffee
Yeah.
when
loved
I
it.
auditioned for do you hear my dog in the background?
Yes.
Sorry, he's being really
Hi,
nosy.
fella.
I auditioned for Lucifer. Do you remember that show?
Yes.
Good
Yes.
show, great show. And I got to go on the lot for that, and that was, I think I like took a picture just like on the lot. Like I had one of the other actresses, we took photos of each other. Like we were walking in together. It was so random, and it was a flashback scene, and we were both dressed in like 1950s dresses.
Oh, nice.
And so we knew we were walking in at the same time.
What
And
studio?
so, I don't know. I think it was Warner Brothers.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Burbank?
I think. Yeah,
Okay.
I think
awesome.
that's where it was. I have it on my. I'd have to like go back to see, but I'm pretty sure it was that lot. Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember like we were like, we're not going to exchange info, but let's take photos of each other so that we have this memory. And then like, hey, wish you the best. Like, hope you don't get it, but like, but also like, wish you the best.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I love that. That I miss about auditioning in person. But when you do it on tape, you can really work at it. I mean, that's a little trickery on them too, because you could submit take 35
Right.
and be someone that they want you to do this in 2 takes when you show up. And it's
Right.
interesting. I've never really been told anything by directors. Just a little bit, like maybe look this way or look that way, but they don't. It's not like the movies when they do someone being directed. The director has all these notes. In 1923, Ben Richardson, he's a great director. All he said to me was, "We're changing the train times from 12:45 to 12:20," and I had to change 3 train times based on that on the fly, and I did.
Oh, you
because-
mean like
because
Like
the
your line was the train leaves at 12:40, but
45
instead,
and then something else happens at 1:10 and something else happens at 1:35. So I had to adjust it 3 times on the fly. He just told me the first one
Okay.
changed. So I changed them and he
yeah.
goes, "Wow, you changed them all. You passed the audition." And it's like, yeah. I was like,
That's
"Thanks."
funny.
But it's just an interesting fact that there's not a lot of direction. You're expected to know what you're doing. If you got the role,
Right.
you know what they saw you
Right.
do the role, so do what they saw you do.
Yeah, no one, I feel like I think this was Pam from The Office. I read her book and it was amazing. And now Jenna Fisher.
Okay.
She she wrote something along the lines of, no one is as prepared for the scene as the person who has under 5 lines. And
That's funny.
she
It's
went
true.
into like how her one line, she played a waitress, and her one line was like, how are we doing tonight, or something like, can I get you something to drink, or something like that. And she was like, I had a backstory. I had my moment before.
Sure.
Like, I had my favorite color or something like that. And I was like, that's so true. That's so funny. Like, you are so prepared. And it probably is nerves, right? Because if you're going in with a co-star or a guest star or an under 5, you're going to be nervous. There's no way to
Yeah.
say like, don't be nervous. You're going to be.
Well, one of the things I haven't done, like I said, done 5. One of the main things to do is save your takes. The first thing I did, I gave it all, but they were shooting over my shoulder and they were shooting the star. They're always going to shoot the stars of the show first, and then they'll reverse the camera. Like I did New Girl, and I had lines with Jake Johnson. It's funny, when I got to that set, the first thing he said to me was, "Hi, I'm Jake. Hi, I'm John. You can make up your own lines in the show." That's the first thing he said, which I found interesting.
Love that.
But I did all my lines to them, and then they left, and I did my lines with the second AD. So
Yeah.
I'm acting with the AD, and so I learned that you have to save those opening takes. Are good to get your nerves out because you're not even on camera; it's over your shoulder.
Right,
So by
that's
the time
very
it's
true.
you can relax into doing your spot.
Very
Just a
true.
little tip,
Wow, John, it's almost been an hour. As
my
we
goodness.
wrap up,
All right.
can you give some advice for maybe fresh faces that might want to break into acting?
Yeah. First, how to get an agent. Good piece. People would hate this, but just find every public address on IMDb Pro and send a polite email. My agent, I sent 586 emails
To
for a
that
theatrical
one-
agent. No, to different.
Oh my God.
586
I was like, how are you breathing? Okay.
Oh, that's awesome. That person, do not send 586 emails to the same person. But I sent 586 emails using the IMDb database until I got someone that was interested in me.
That's amazing.
That's the first advice. The second advice is what I said about auditioning and the role are completely different things. And third is don't take it too serious. I took music serious, and that broke my heart. So I don't have any bandwidth to be heartbroken over acting. If I don't get a role within an hour, I'm like, what are you going to do? Move on to the next thing. What are we having for lunch?
Easier said than done, but I think that's great advice.
Yeah, and I only can do it because of I was under Edinburgh Castle crying, calling my dad about my band. So I let it all out there. So if you hadn't done that yet, it's really hard to do, but work at it.
Right.
It's really hard to do. I get it.
Thank you
That's
for
my
that.
advice.
Thank you, John. John.
Are there any
Romano.
other? Is there any other last thing about food or wine? Because I know don't you talk often about wine?
I do, but that's just like, that's just because it comes up. It's
Okay.
not specifically part of the show.
All right. My favorite wine is Burgundy. I love champagne, but I prefer beer and whiskey unless I'm in France.
When are you going back to France next?
I'm not sure.
You're always
Working it
there,
out.
I feel like.
No,
Every
it's just
time
a few times a year. I go a few times a year.
I
2
spoke
to
to
4 times a year.
I spoke to Karen recently, and I think she said something like, maybe it wasn't recently, it was a couple months ago, and she said like, "Oh, John's in France, but he'll be back," or something like that. And I was like, "He's always in France."
It's a great country.
Yeah, I went to Paris and the south of France for my honeymoon.
Oh, wonderful.
It was amazing.
That's great.
The place, not the honeymoon. No, I'm kidding. The honeymoon was great. Thank you, John. Thank you for
You're
coming
welcome.
on
It was a
Lots of
pleasure.
Laughs. I hope you come back soon.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
That was awesome.
Oh, can we talk
We're-
still?
Yeah, we're no
Okay.
longer, we're not recording anymore.
Cool. Yeah, that was